Welcome back to the PCC podcast. And in today's episode, I'm super excited because we actually have never done this before, having kind of a roundtable situation. So, with us, I have Coach Abby and I have our client, Jenalyn. And we are going to be talking today about a very different topic than we normally talk about. We always are talking about fat loss and reaching your body goals and all that. But Jenalyn has an incredible story, just an awesome story of weight loss and of finding her next level and where she wanted to take it after she had lost, pretty much all the weight that she wanted to lose. And now, taking on a Spartan race and your first Spartan race. So we are recording this probably like a week and a half after the race. Is that right?
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, just a week and a half. So I'm super excited to hear your reflections and just what you've learned and everything. But before we do that, I would like to go back in time, if that's okay with you, and would love to have you just introduce yourself and just kind of go back in time with your story, kind of where this all started with your health and your weight loss journey as a whole.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I am
Yeah.
growing up, I never thought of myself as an athlete. I grew up in a family like sports wasn't really a big deal. I was actually homeschooled through seventh grade. And so I did participate in softball, but just like your regular like town sports. And in high school, I ran track. But it was just because my mom said that I needed to do some type of exercise. But I always watched the athletes and wished that I could be one myself. But never thought of myself as one until recently, which is pretty exciting. But I always struggled with my weight. In college, tried every yo-yo diet under the sun. They worked for a short amount of time, and then I typically gained the weight back. And then I got really into running. So I started running, and when I graduated college, I ended up running the Marine Corps Marathon 2 years in a row,
Oh, wow.
2009, 2010, and fell in love with running and was able to maintain my weight loss for the most part, balanced eating for the most part, but still had this mindset of yo-yo dieting. And that all hit the fan when in 2012, I was skiing and fell and tore my ACL and meniscus. So now I can't run anymore. And because I didn't have this eating plan, I was off to the races. That was 2012. By 2015, I'd gained over 100 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And my ACL had gone undiagnosed. I had gone through a lot of loss in terms of in my personal life. And I was emotionally eating. Again, trying every yo-yo diet, but they didn't work. And finally, in 2015, I was able to get the surgery. I got the surgery done on my left knee. And from that time on, I was able to start losing some of the weight. I went through a really bad divorce. So the divorce diet is a real thing. And I was able to lose a little less than 100 pounds. But again, all on a yo-yo diet that was not sustainable. And so what ended up happening is that was 2019. And 2018 was when my divorce was official as well. Moved into my own place. And then we hit 2020, the pandemic. And I'm living alone.
Yeah.
Living alone without a plan. And within the next 3 years, I've gained over 70 pounds back. And really, if you look back at my story, nutrition's always been a real struggle for me. And just relying sort of on the workouts, but what happens when you can't work out anymore?
Yeah.
I had no plans in place. So finally in May 2022, I went to Mexico with my sister and a friend of ours, and I just looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm done. Like, I'm done living this way. I can't do this anymore. And so I tried it on my own from May until November, and I was able to lose decent amount of weight. I know we're not talking really focusing on the weight loss, but I was up to
Okay.
222. And then by the time I had gotten down to 185 by November. And, doing it on my own, I decided I wasn't going to join any diet program this time. Was just going to try and track my meals as much as I could with the knowledge that I had and try and get physical exercise in. But it was very difficult on my own. And then PCC came in and I realized that I don't have to do this alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And then since then, where did the journey take you up to March? So March was when we made the pivotal decision to do the Spartan race, but kind of November, oh my God, a year ago, basically to March. What was that journey like? Like, what were kind of a couple of the things that you learned that took you to the place where you were able to lose, I guess, the remainder of that weight?
So when I joined PCC and realized I didn't have to do it alone, I also realized that it had to be a lifestyle. And, part of the weight gain that I blamed it on was that I travel for work. So how can I maintain a healthy lifestyle if I'm traveling 2 to 3 weeks during the work week every month and lose weight? Well, I realized with this program that I could do that. What I love about PCC is that I can, in my app, I can track my calories. And, I had every excuse under the sun, but really you can always find decent food to eat no matter where you are. I learned from PCC that you can bring your own food. In the airlines, I didn't realize that you could bring your own food to the airport. And that was always a place that I would struggle. But I fell in love with weight training through PCC. And I was a cardio fanatic. I'd go for hours and hours. I just remember wasting 4 hours, maybe on the weekends, but on a regular day, maybe an hour to 2 hours, just trying to sweat it
Wow.
out, thinking that that was the way.
Mhm.
And what I love about PCC was that I live this very fast track lifestyle, very intense, and I don't have the knowledge I didn't have the knowledge at the time of what workouts to do. So when I came to PCC and they said, hey, no worries, we're going to help you with your nutrition and give you the workouts. You don't even have to think about it. That's exactly what I needed. So I started to, when I joined, I said, I will not join a gym. So you have to give me everything that I can do on the road and in my apartment, and, trying to find another excuse. And they said, okay, it's on, let's do it. And so, I absolutely fell in love with weight training and realized, like, okay, with weight training and a balanced diet, like, I can do this and I don't have to waste hours in the gym. So, it was kind of like a progression, like month after month, and changing when we kept changing the program after, I think, is it 6 weeks
6 to
long,
8, depends
6
on
to
the
8 weeks.
cycle. Yeah.
And I get so excited still to this day when I get the new workouts. I just got new workouts from Abby after the Spartan. And so it just kept me going and excited. And when I sat back and thought, like, okay, I need a challenge. I need something to look forward to. I need something to strive for. And the Spartan race came up because the Spartan hosts, they run Spartan every year on the ranch, the cattle ranch that is owned by the people that I work for. So
I did not know that connection.
Yes. So I work for Ancient Peaks Winery, which is owned, and all the vineyards are on the Santa Margarita Ranch, which is owned by the same people that I work for.
This all makes sense now. I saw you like posting about it and I was like, did she go visit? I was like, is it the same place? Is it different? That makes so much sense.
Which was so awesome because they came to us and said, we have free tickets. So does anyone want to do the race? And in the past, some of the people at the winery have done the race. And so I kept thinking about it like for months. And I knew for a while that the option was available. And then one day I just woke up and I was like, wow, okay, Spartan, here I can mix my running, which I wanted to start running again, not like I used to, which was hours and hours and hours, but I wanted to be able to mix my passion for running with weight training. And that is basically what the Spartan is. And I had the option of choosing the sprint, which is 3 miles, the super, which is 6 miles, or the beast, which is 13 miles, 13.1, and go big or go home. So I chose the 13.1 and it was a challenge.
Yeah. Do you think like the running was more of a challenge or the obstacles?
The running wasn't so much a challenge. I mean, it was because you were running through the mountains, but the obstacles were really intense. And they actually had them stacked, some of them stacked at the end. So that really puts you to the test if you're a beast or not. But
yeah, no, I don't know if anyone knows this actually, but I did a Savage race. It's like basically a spin-off of Spartan when I was like 18. And I remember that it was like the running wasn't as big of a deal because it's broken up by the obstacles. So I felt like I was always getting a break from the running. Now, granted, mine was 6 miles, not 13, but that was kind of like relieving in the sense of like, oh, I just did 6 miles. I didn't even really feel like it because I'm like thinking about the obstacles and getting through them and all that. Was it kind of like that for you?
it was. And with my past experience, I noticed out there was a lot of weightlifters that you could tell probably didn't do much running. So they were walking most of the way. But with my background with running, I had, fanny packs, 2 different fanny packs of fuel. So
yeah,
I made sure that I was fueled up. And I think that in the end is what really helped me because I walked really fast up the mountains and then I would like sprint on the flat areas, but it was very mountainous. But I think like the obstacles definitely did help, like you said, because you're like, okay, I got to break for a minute. And then you're just so focused on that obstacle. And then you go again.
Definitely. Cool. Well, tell me a little bit about when you made the declaration that you were going to do this race at the PCC live event. So, kind of tying this into the client journey that we have for all of our clients is we take everyone through a series of steps from the priming phase to the goal specific phase to then maintaining their progress. And then it splits off at the end, right? To, okay, you can go on autopilot mode. You can just maintain this, not have to think about it. It's just your lifestyle. Or next level, which is let's challenge ourselves to the next goal. Okay, we like fitness a lot. Let's, we want to take another avenue with it. Maybe it's a Spartan, bodybuilding, powerlifting, CrossFit, whatever, right? And so we had to brainstorm that at the live event in person and write it down on paper that you're going to do this thing. So what was that like for you declaring it? Did you have fear? Did you have imposter syndrome? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Like, what were the emotions at that time?
I remember sitting there and knowing that I wanted to put it down on the paper and having a lot of fear, just as you said, fear, imposter syndrome, like, oh, you're not good enough. You're not an athlete. You can't do that. And at PCC, that's not what we do here. And I just remember sitting there at the table and watching other people write things down. I was like, you know what? There's a lifelong goal I have, which is to hike Mount Kilimanjaro. So I put that on there. And my father's actually done it.
No way.
So that one,
I don't even know where that is.
I think it's like in Nepal. I know you have to go to Nepal first, but I think, but I, then I'm thinking like, okay, but I need something this year. I can't just put something out there like for my whole lifetime goal. I need to put something for this year. And Spartan just came to my head. It was like, all right, it's time to do it. Like I'm just going to do it. I'm going to put it down on this paper and then figure it out. And I know that with PCC, I'm not alone in figuring out that goal. And I didn't have to research how to do a Spartan. I did because I wanted to be prepared, but at the same time went to Abby and Marissa or both of you and just said, help me. All right, now we need to focus my program as I get closer to the Spartan to be able to complete the Spartan. And I had a body composition done at my gym a couple weeks before the race, and they were blown away. They're like, you're at 20% body fat, but your upper body is so strong. It's actually like stronger than your legs, which was not the case before I started with PCC. And when I started with PCC, I remember on one of my first reports when I was talking to my original coach and told her, I said, I hate my arms. I absolutely hate my arms. I will not show my arms and I need help. And now I proudly show my arms. And so it was really cool when they did that body comp, just having that trainer tell me like, wow, incredible job on your upper body. And that's all because of PCC and obviously my hard work too, but like together completing that, which is pretty exciting.
That is so cool. No, and that's great because it's like, especially in the Spartans, you have to have the upper body strength to pull yourself up over things, climb stuff, monkey bars, right? Like toss stuff around. It's like it's not just a lower body battle for the Spartan. So it's cool that you're able to see such a drastic difference from training for that. But what I love more about what you said was actually kind of dialing it back to what you said at the very beginning was you were never an athlete, right? You never had that identity. You always looked at them and said, oh, I want to be like that. And then when it came time to make that choice and that decision, it was that very same thought that came up that said, you can't do that. You're not an athlete. And it's those old identities that come to drag us down. So I'm actually really curious, like the evolution of that as you embarked on training for the race and started to train for it, started to see the deadline come up. Like, when did that shift really happen for you? Or has it happened where you can say, you know what, I'm an athlete now? Or is that something that you still work on and battle with on a daily basis?
It's interesting because the shift really happened, I'd say probably in September. So in September, I started sitting back and thinking, this is great that I'm doing all these workouts at home, but why am I limiting myself to my home when I can join a gym? Because the problem was I started to outgrow all my weights and I kept buying weights and I kept buying weights. And it was great because in the beginning, when I first started, even though I didn't need to be, I was very insecure and I never would have gone into a gym and started lifting with the guys. I would have been so intimidated. And luckily at my gym, it is men and women out there on the floor. But I just sat back and I was like, okay, I have outgrown this space. It is time to join a gym. And so it really wasn't until like October 1st that I joined that gym. And the moment that I walked into that gym and looked around and then started lifting, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an athlete now. Like I felt so confident. I gained so much confidence because PCC is not all just about like nutrition and fitness, but it's gaining that new mindset. And it took me a long time to get there. But then also when I was doing the body composition and they were just asking me questions because I had just joined the gym. So they give you the free body comp and then they ask you like, what's your goal? And I said, well, I would like to continue leaning down. And she just looked at me and she said, you, Arlene, you're an athlete, when she looked at me. And I said, yeah, I'm an athlete. And it was like the first time that I admitted that, and not in a prideful way, but I put a lot of hard work in, and I've had a crew of people here at PCC that have helped me get here. And it's just exciting because, as Abby says, like, we're just getting started.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, like, I feel like you're so humble. Like, I feel like you do a credit a lot to, obviously, PCC, and, we'll say yes, we'll take pride in that too. But like, if you could speak to like other clients that maybe look up to you or know who you are just from social media, like, what does it take to be a successful client? Because I feel like you're a great just story of coming from, low self-esteem and really working towards like putting in the work, not only on your side, but investing in PCC, in the community, in your coaching relationship. Like, what would you say to those clients, like, to be a successful client? Like, what does that look like?
I think it's really important that you follow the protocol. I mean, there's a reason that we have like our check-ins, and there's been weeks I can say that I'm on the road and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I force myself to do those check-ins because I think it's really important. It sets like the tone for that week, and you owe it to yourself. Like, if you're investing in yourself, then do the work. And it's not easy, it's really hard. I had a friend recently that told me, well, I just don't have the same energy that you do. And do you think I always have this energy? No, but I wake up each day and say, like, I have a new day to start over. And with the PCC app too, I love it because it's like a guideline for my day. I love checklists, so I love that I get to check everything off every day. But I think it's really important that if you're going to join this program, then don't limit yourself. Like, do the work. And there are days that you don't want to. Vacations, like, get your workouts in on vacation, because it's only going to make your vacation that much better. And I have to say, in the past year, I can count so many days that I didn't want to put in the work, but I just did the work. And it's not, if you're going to rely on motivation, you're never going to get there. Like, you have to be dedicated. And I got to the point where I was just sick and tired of my own BS and lies to myself. And I remember, I couldn't break 185. And today I'm at 145. And I haven't seen that number on the scale since I was in my 20s, and I'm 38 now. And that didn't just happen overnight. And one thing I like to do is I go back through my app and like look at all my progress. And I will do that often because it's just like a reminder to me again that I've done the work, and it's baby steps every day. And if you just do it and you push through on those days that maybe you're not having the best day, but it's progress over perfection. And I walked in here a perfectionist, and now I'm focusing on progress. And guess what? I'm getting progress and I'm getting results because I'm not trying to be perfect each day. I'm just trying to do my best, but I'm doing the work.
100%. Love that. I really love what you said about how, you're not limiting yourself. And it kind of brought me back to what you said about the gym thing. Like, I almost feel like it's kind of tied back to that same thing, like, oh, I'm not an athlete. But as soon as you walked in the gym, you were like, oh, no, this is me, right? And it's like, that was another layer of you preventing yourself from becoming the athlete, the next person that you want to be, was like, well, I'll just work out from home, right? Like, and just kind of limiting yourself in that way. But it's like kind of a lesson that I'm taking from all of this from you, Jenalyn, is you just play all out. You're literally just like, go big or go home, is something you said earlier, right? You just play all out, you put it all out there, say, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it fully. And that doesn't mean all or nothing, but it means giving your best, like you just said, right?
Yeah.
So I love that. But I want to know about, kind of, now that you've done the race, you've probably reflected on it a good bit, but I'm curious to hear, like, what did you take away from actually setting the goal, working so hard towards it, accomplishing it, and now looking back, What did you learn from that experience? What did it teach you about yourself?
I am so grateful that I did that. And it really taught me that I can do anything I put my mind to. And it, again, doesn't need to be perfect. And I love the saying, like, failing forward. And I didn't fail the Spartan by any means, but I didn't, there was 30 obstacles and I did, I probably completed about 22 of them. But that doesn't mean that I failed the race. But now it just taught me, I'm sitting back and I'm like, okay, now I want to sign up for a 6-mile Spartan in a couple months and go do that and see how I do on that. And so it's, as I'm thinking back about that goal and completing it, it was so rewarding. And it just gave me ammo to sit back and say, all right, what's next? What can I do? What are some other things I can do? I've always wanted to run another marathon. So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do that. I'm already at a half marathon. Maybe I'll go do that. Or just like, I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do in 2024 yet, but I'm not going to limit myself. And I think that's one thing I learned with the Spartan. Like, I was terrified, but there is nothing more rewarding than facing your fears. And I went through, like, I decided I was going to do the Spartan in March. And then in April, I lost a guy that I was dating and he passed away. And when that happened, I sat there and thought, like, all right, this is the true test now. I can choose to throw all my hard work away, or in his honor, I can fight for my health and continue and do this Spartan. And that really helped me, like, through the training too, because I had always used grief as an excuse to not have self-care. And my Spartan really was like my self-care. I took the grief head on, and completing that Spartan, when I passed the finish line, I, look up to the sky and I'm like, Ryan, I did this for you, man, like for me, but in his honor, because he's not here anymore, but I was able to carry the torch. And there's nothing more rewarding, and in a way, in the best way that I could really honor him too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So amazing. I'm getting kind of like emotional hearing you even
Me
talk
too.
about
I have like
that.
tears in my eyes.
But it's so powerful, right? And I think something that I'm actually really curious about from that is exactly how you framed it. You said, okay, this situation happened to me, a devastating situation where you had to go through grief and losing someone that you love. But you chose to look at it as a test, as okay, this is my next test for how dedicated can I be? Is this really the lifestyle that I want to choose? And how do I choose to now perceive this situation moving forward? And I guess what I'm curious about is, like, is that just like the way you've always looked at life and the world, or like, where did you learn that?
It is not something that I was born with. I think that I used grief in the past. In my past life, in my past marriage, I always used grief as an excuse to not take care of myself. And then I'd say about a year and a half ago, really March 22, when I made that decision, like, what I'm doing is not working. So I need to start over, and just decided that nothing was going to get in my way. And I did learn this at PCC, but in other places too, that when you're going through grief, self-care should be number one. So often when someone passes away, people bring, fast food to the people who have lost someone, instead of, my friends came and filled my fridge with all of the food that I was eating. So they filled it with chicken, with cottage cheese, with everything that I was eating. They filled it up so that I could continue to be successful. So huge shout out to my friends who are amazing and helped me through. But that to me was a huge testament. It was like I had help, but then also it was like this whole new mindset. And like I said, I think through pretty much learning what I don't want to do again, I have lost and gained, 100 pounds, but then gained back over 70, like twice. So I'm like, I can't do that to my body again. So this time, I think I learned from some of my past mistakes, and then with the help of my friends, was able to change my mindset.
100%. And I think that is, there's a couple of really powerful things in there. Number one, learning from your past mistakes and choosing not to repeat those. But secondarily, the people that you pick to put in your life, like, matter. You had a village to support you in a way that was actually beneficial for you, which, is not the case for everyone. So it goes to show that you're not only being intentional with your training, your lifestyle, but also the people that you choose to surround yourself with, because it takes a village to reach any goal, right? So the support you have with PCC, but also the people that you're selecting to spend time with in your personal life. So speaking of that village, Coach Abby obviously has been a really big part of that village for you. And I would actually love to hear from Coach Abby, like, through this journey, like, what are, I guess, some of the transformations that you observed Jenalyn going through as she trained for this race, as she assumed this new identity as an athlete, and kind of what were the big notable things that you noticed in that journey?
Ooh, this is good. I feel like Jenalyn already, I mean, you touched on it, just the transition. I think you came to one day and you're like, I'm joining One Life. Like, I'm gonna join One Life. I'm gonna join a gym. And I think that was just like a great move by you. And I think kind of just showed like you really wanted to train hard for this. I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind that like you could have trained harder for this. Like, you are hitting your protocols. I think the month of October, you were traveling like 3.5 weeks, or that was September, but you were on the road like so much, but like you were completing your workouts like day by day. So I think joining the gym was like the first kind of thing of just, I also think it was like a confidence thing. I almost think it gave you confidence, like going in the gym and being around other people, and being like, I am happy in my new body. And like you did work super hard to, grow your upper body. So I think just like the confidence I saw shift in you as you trained for the Spartan race has just increased. And I would also say just like your adherence. I mean, you were always like super consistent, but I think the way you tackled the adversity of traveling for work and having to wake up at 5 a.m. for a hotel workout, like, I think you just made this work because you really wanted it to work, and like it was something that you were pursuing for so long. So I think just like the way that you approached this Spartan race too was like flexible in how you did it, but like you were really firm in your goals. And I know we talk a lot about that, like with our clients, of being like flexible in our methods, like traveling, stuff comes up, like falling on your plan B, but still making progress moving forward. And I feel like you just became so adaptable to like the craziness or the travel or not being able to plan out your days for work, and like you just made it work. And so I think just seeing like your confidence increase and like your drive almost increase even more. And then I know like a few weeks leading up to the race, like you were like, I'm feeling some imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that like athlete mentality of just being like, am I an athlete? Like, do I deserve to be here with others? And I think just seeing like you work through that, like, I think that's not like, oh, I'm an athlete now, like it's one and done, I'm not going to feel like that again. But I think you taking that head on and being like, I've trained so hard for this, like I'm going to show up, I'm going to do this. And I'm curious for you, like, what was it like when you actually were at the race? Like, I know leading up to the race, you were kind of feeling those thoughts, but like, what did it feel like when you got there?
So I had to travel. I live in Virginia and traveled to California for the race, and got into California a couple days before, just because I'm aware of bloating and other stuff. And I just wanted to make sure that I was properly hydrated and such. So like 2 days out, I was really stressed, definitely having the imposter syndrome. relaying everything in my brain that we had talked about, that I had put all the work in. And day before, I'm feeling a little better. And when I woke up on Saturday for the race, I was ready to go. I don't know what happened, but like a shift changed in my brain. And I was like, all right, let's do this. Like, it was so awesome because I just remember when I was having the imposter syndrome, I'm like, I did not work this hard to have this kind of anxiety on race day. It's like one thing to have anxiety because you're excited anxiety, but so it was pretty cool when I woke up with that attitude and not like overly confident, but just like, hey, I've done the work. It is what it is. I remember one day you told me it's you against yourself. Just remember that. And that I think really helped me throughout the race. But so I showed up on race day and I'm standing in my heat and looking around and realizing that I could count on my hands the amount of women that were running. So I was in the open heat, which is the non-elite competitive, and there were 585 women that did it. But when I was looking around in my heat, there was literally maybe 5 women. And that actually gave me a superpower because I just felt like pumped up. I'm like, oh, let's go.
Yeah. I love that.
And during the race, there was a couple times I had to pump myself up during the run, like, come on, you're out, keep going. But I was talking to some young guys along the race, and they were probably like really early 20s, maybe in college. And, I was like, oh yeah, I work here and I'm out here. And they were like, wow, good job. So then it was me against myself, but then of course I do have a slight competition. So I always tried to stay a little bit ahead of them.
Love it.
That helps me.
I totally get that. That is that's me to a T. Like, I'll be like competitive with myself on the day to day, but as soon as you put me in a room with other people, I'm like, I'm beating you, I'm beating you, I'm beating you. No, that's awesome. So no, really good insights there. And I love, like, Abby, the greatness that you were able to just recognize in Jenalyn, that maybe, like you said, you're very humble, Jenalyn. So like maybe you wouldn't say it yourself, but just really recognizing the progress that you made mentally, physically throughout that whole journey. But here's kind of the pivotal question, right? We talk a lot about these identity shifts that we make in our journey and how we grow as people, not just the changes we make to our physical being, our body. So I have to know, like, now that you've done all this, who is Jenalyn now?
I'm strong, I'm confident, yet humble. I don't know if I can say that, but
you can.
And I am ready to tackle my next goal. And it's interesting that you say that because it's a whole lifestyle change. And recently I've gotten comments at work and from like different coworkers or clients that have noticed the change in me and have commented and just said like, wow, like you're in beast mode. Or I have been able to do a lot of negotiating now that before I would have felt little imposter syndrome doing with some of my clients. That is part of my job. I'm in sales, but it's kind of a lot of different tiers of my job, and negotiating is one of them. And I feel like the more confident I feel in my own body, the more that I can do my job and do it well. And yeah, so still a work in progress, but it's exciting because right now I know we're talking about the mindset, but I'm close to my overall weight loss goal. But I'm excited because I realize that's just the beginning. And I feel like once I get there, then the real work starts, and it's learning to maintain that and realize that this is who I am now. And recently I had a friend tell me, she said, remember all those things you used to want to be? You wanted to be the athlete, you wanted to eat healthy and like have good habits, but also be able to enjoy the dessert every once in a while. Shout out to PCC. And she was like, how cool is it that you're that person now?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I'm realizing. But I'm grateful that I still have another year with PCC to learn how to be that person and maintain all around.
100%. That's awesome. And I think what I love the most is that you can just confidently say that you are strong, you are confident, you're a negotiator, you're successful in multiple areas of your life, and that this is who you are. And it's like, you a year ago, would you have been able to say that without feeling some type of way, right? So really, really cool. I was going to ask you what's next, but I know you said, undecided yet. Mount Kilimanjaro is on the list. Another race might be on the list. But any thoughts on that? I mean, just goal planning and what's kind of next on the docket?
So interesting enough, my 10-year anniversary for my ex-husband is June 22nd of next year. And there is a Spartan race in New York City. And it is a 6-mile Spartan, like stadium Spartan. And so I definitely think that is happening. Because that just sounds like, oh, I got to do that. That's so cool. And I'm in a great place and, moved on. But I'm like, oh, that's just kind of cool to do that on that date. So that's definitely happening. I want to do some travel, but really I just want to take my fitness to the next level. And I just got new workouts from Abby, which I'm really excited about. I've really focused on the upper body, and now I'm like, all right, I got to focus on the lower body. But it's exciting. Like that to me is exciting. And before we even get to New Year's, I'm not doing it on New Year's. I'm doing it well before I will figure out what races I want to do in 2024, because I definitely want something to look forward to. But honestly, I'm the most excited just about my weekly training and my new workouts that I got, and focusing on completing those and then continuing with my nutrition and getting down to that goal weight.
Yeah. Love that. I know we're gonna grow the lower body and the glutes some. But yeah, I love all of that.
Yeah, I definitely I think just kind of looking ahead, what's really interesting about what you said is the thing you're most excited for is just the week-to-week training, just the day-to-day, right? And we talk so much about being process focused versus outcome focused. And it's like, I think that's something that I won't say have mastered, because I don't think any of us master it really ever, but are mastering is being process focused, being engaged and excited about the day to day, the mundane stuff that, seems, like we could just brush over it, right? We just want to get to the end outcome, but the end outcome means nothing if we don't enjoy the process on the way there. And I think that's something that, you can also pass along to your fellow PCC clients is like, when you're that excited about the process, it's like, look at how much you can accomplish. Look at all the things that you've done and where you're going. All right. But I definitely think, you said it out loud, June 22nd is going to be a thing. So now you're held accountable here too.
Great. I'll go sign up right
now. Awesome. Well, I guess the only other question that I would have would be kind of just to shout out to the community. When it comes to the goals beyond the weight loss, because that's really what we focused on for the majority of this podcast. The goals beyond the weight loss. I feel like a lot of women who we work with can't even see that far, right? We can't see the forest through the trees because we're still in this place where we don't love our body, or we haven't lost the weight yet, or whatever. So I guess just like looking back at your past self, maybe the Jenalyn who had 70 to 100 pounds to lose and couldn't see this future you that is crushing Spartan races now, like what advice would you give to her, and therefore to the clients that struggle with this, that could help her get through to where you are right now?
Thank you. I have some great advice that I got when after I'd had the surgery, or maybe it was right before my surgery, and I was 105 pounds more than I am today. I couldn't walk to my mailbox. And my doctor was like, all right, we are going to just try to walk to the mailbox. If you can't even get to the mailbox, just go halfway and back in. And I want you to congratulate yourself. Like, give yourself some love, right? Like, I, in this process, have realized, like, we're not gonna congratulate ourselves with food, but there's other things that you can do. Like, we're just gonna eat the food because we want to have it, as long as it's part of our program, or, tracking it. But there's other self-care that you can do to pat yourself on the back. And he said, I just really want, you've run marathons in the past, but we can't walk to the mailbox right now. So give yourself grace, but also, like, don't give up. Baby steps, because baby steps lead to progress. And I remember being like, okay, I need to congratulate myself for walking the mailbox. When I got to the mailbox, I did. And then I could walk a little further and a little further. And today I just crushed a Spartan race, but I remember what it was like back then. Another tool is that my mom took me out shopping, and she said, I mean, I was a grown up and everything, but she said, I'm going to take you shopping because we're going to get you clothes that you feel confident in and that you love. You are not in your ideal weight that you want to be right now, but we're going to make you feel really good about where you're at. And I think just having grace for yourself, but also dedication for the change. Like, you have to put in the hard work. So you can't have so much grace that you don't do the work, but just really noticing the small wins and the baby steps, and just to keep going. And a little bit adds up to a lot. And that's why I go back through my app even now all the time and look at all the work, because when I'm doing it day to day and just getting through that day, I'm not thinking about those other days. But when I go back and look through, like, wow, that all added up. And if I just continue to focus on what I need to do today, one day I'm going to get there. And it took a long time for me, and I'm not even there because we never arrive, right? It's a lifelong process. But I would have to say just grace and loving yourself, and really being tender with yourself, but also saying, hey, I love myself this much that I'm going to put the work in.
Really, really great advice. And honestly, like, really good advice from your doctor. I love the mailbox analogy. And it's like so similar to the stuff that we teach. So it makes sense why you resonate with like what we teach so much, is like those baby steps, congratulating yourself for the little things, and just having acceptance for where you are so that you can move forward, right? Rather than trying to kick yourself while you're down, because that doesn't do anything good. So that is awesome advice to the younger you, and also to hopefully clients who struggle to see the forest through the trees. So this has been awesome though. And I just have really been, I'm excited for this episode to come out, but I've just been blessed to be able to reflect on this with you and be able to kind of go through the timeline together, because it has been almost a year now that you've been a part of PCC, and that's been a really cool milestone that we're about to hit. So any final thoughts, Abby or Jenalyn, on just what we've talked about as a whole?
You're just crushing it. I think a lot of people love following you, and yeah, you're just a presence on social media too. And I love how you just share your journey and share your day to day. I know we love it. I love it. So yeah, continue to do that, because we all love watching your stories and posts.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for having me here. And if I could say anything to people that are on the fence of whether they should join PCC or not, Marissa did not tell me to say this, but I'm so passionate about it, is that just try it. And that's what I did. I mean, I kicked and screamed to Marissa and was like, no, I'm fine. Then finally I was like, okay, I'll join your challenge. And I was hooked. So invest in yourself, because at the end of the day, that's really important. And gosh, I sit here now 1 year, almost 1 year going, I am so grateful that I invested in myself a year ago because I would not be here today. I wouldn't have just done the Spartan. And it's been life-changing. So thank you so much. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I know, like you said, you didn't have to, but I'm glad that it has been that impactful in your life. So we mentioned it a little bit ago, people love to follow your journey, and you are very avid about posting it, which is honestly, I think, another layer of accountability for yourself and also inspires others. So if somebody doesn't know who you are yet and they want to follow you on Instagram, where can they find you?
My handle is Jenalyn. So it's JenalynJJ.
Awesome. Cool. We'll put it in the show notes as well. But if you appreciated this podcast and you enjoyed the lessons that Jenalyn and her coach Abby had to share, go ahead and reach out to them on Instagram so that they can know that the episode was appreciated, because we definitely appreciated you taking the time to tell your story today. So again, send her your appreciation. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast if you want more episodes and client interviews like this. And we will see you back here next week. Thanks for listening.